life of the artist is lived for the people. They want to give them something they can enjoy. The life of an artist is something that's precious. They are very special human beings. Your appreciation.
It's the artist vibe, it's the artist vibe. It's the artist vibe, it's the artist vibe. It's the artist vibe, it's the artist vibe. It's the artist vibe, it's the artist vibe.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome poet, essayist, and activist Kelsey Obewe.
How's everybody doing tonight? Thank you for coming through. I appreciate y'all for taking your evening out to enjoy some art, some poetry, some henna art. Man, tonight I've got a great set planned out for you guys. My name is Kelsey Ogbewe. I'm an essayist, a poet, an activist. I have been doing this poetry thing for almost a decade now. And I have a story to tell. So some of y'all who may or may not be aware of my work, I want to provide with you guys almost a lineage, a directory in some sorts of the work that I've done over these last few years. So hopefully, as you listen to me wax poetic this evening, if there's anything that I want you guys to walk away from with all of this is the idea that people are ever changing, people's minds change, ideologies change. And so that is my story as a writer, as a poet, as an activist. So the first piece that I have for you guys is called My Heart. I'm taking you back to 2012, where my story begins in the Pentecostal church. See, alone, I could write raps solely about social conscious facts, uncommon to the majority that seem to lack knowledge of racism, Marxism, communism, conspiracies, and democracy. You could find that in one track. Or I could take the brush, paint pictures with imagery, metaphors, and similes, all to say such ferocity in urban Black communities must be stopped. I could write about cops, ghettos, suburbs, and how the war on terror is absurd. I could write words that breathe life into the disenfranchised, nudging them away from the lies and into book smarts. Or I could write about political agendas, scandals, and the dangers of a sex offender, a litany of issues. The conscious brain is conscious of the misuse of power, but is it really ours? False intellectualism would have you boxed in like a multiple barred prison, a moon eclipsing the sun's glory and knowledge of Adonai. My mind, should I keep going? Yes. Now, if I take a step back, I'd have raps boasting about Cadillacs on 15,000 of my tracks and how women like dimes I stack staying. I'd never really ride that. I'd really rather buy that, maybe the white or the black. Or I'd have braggadocious rhymes filling the hearts of listeners with me and how I'm killing the game in every line and how my ice is nice, too bright to shine in the eyes of those in view. I promise it'll make you blind. Or how peace is disguised in a puff of smoke saying, I've looked and choked, but marijuana would do just fine. These lies after lies after lies would lead you to a grave of your demise. See, your gravestone would read, fallen to idolatry, there's no way I could RIPC the God that gave me this gift and not make me consciously social or tell me to describe me as a dude going postal. But he breathed in me a heart to write about Christ and the gospel, to relentlessly speak truth into the lives of the brokenhearted. And this mission is something that I'm wishing he'll never let me depart from. See, this is my heart, to see sinners follow after God's Son. Now, that was 2012, Kelsey. This was around the time that I was about 17 years old. I'm going to fast forward a little bit to 2017, where some things kind of changed. At the time, I was in more white evangelical spaces when I wrote my heart. And then now the poem that I want to read is called Free at Last. And this is where I found myself trying to figure out who I am as a Black man, as a Christian. And then at the time, I found myself in Black liberation churches. It's Free at Last. Negro History Week. Let us take a peek and rewind to the time where the mind of a Black man conceived the thought of a national holiday celebrating the achievements of colored people. Dr. Carter G. Woodson, thank you for your contributions. On the second week of the second month in 1926, the Harvard-trained historian attempted to re-educate the miseducated Negro and the American public through the public school system. Unfortunately, his creatively crafted curriculum meant to correct false views of Black folk was at first lukewarmly received. But year after year after year, the celebration of Black excellence continued, with teachers, scholars, and the ASNLH became the sinews of a once infant skeletal structure making its way into metaphorical adolescence. In 1976, Negro History Week became Black History Month. And in my opinion, it's got a lot more growing to do before it's mature enough to no longer need special attention. But hey, while I have your attention, let me let you in on a little secret. See, slavery was not the beginning of Black history. It was just an interruption. And yo, pardon me for the tangent. However, I've grown increasingly interested in the intricate lives of Frederick Douglass and Phyllis Wheatley. Brother Douglass was born a Talbot County slave, went from being sold on auction blocks to articulate author and abolitionist, but what caught my attention was the faith he finished with. Hope and a liberating God was imperative. And as I scanned through the pages of his narrative one night, I couldn't help but question a few things. Like how could a man plant himself so deeply into the soils of scripture when them same scriptures were used to rationalize the whipping of Aunt Hester? Could you imagine staring into the bloodshot eyes of a drunk slave master, Captain Anthony, so intoxicated with power and pride could not see the humanity of the woman in front of him, so frail, so broken, so terrified? And yet popular Puritan preachers at the time justified that heinous crime. Or take Sister Wheatley, the West African slave girl turned prolific poet who trusted in the providence of God, the same God that evangelists taught created a dark ebony skin as a curse, slowly ripping away at every sense of dignity and worth. And yet she still immersed herself in a faith-filled life. Why and how? See, those were the questions ever present on my mind, weighing heavy on my psyche all night. I decided to sleep on it. And then the next day, as I awoke from my slumber sitting on the cold corner of my bed, poetic rhetoric from propaganda rang powerfully through my head. Scratch your temple so deep is simple, and all you're getting it understanding you don't get it, do you? Then it clicked. The reality of God's existence is not dependent upon poor performance from backwards Puritan preachers, nor should the truth of Christ be eclipsed by the white slave master's whips. So now, I emancipate my vocal cords for the proclamation of a narrative that's far from a European folklore. Hey, yo, that was extra for my 5% and Hotep brothers. Yo, how a Mid-East movement gonna be a white man's religion? Don't you know that Yeshua grew up in Nazareth and his tattered feet walked Egyptian soil? And yes, the Puritans were tripping. They used faith to bond black men, women, and children. But Yeshua and his providence loosened the physical shackles and chains of our people. And in the process, some even became his people, spiritually set free from the grip of their own depravity, harmoniously proclaiming, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. Thank you.
That was great. That was deep, Kelsey. Well, welcome everybody. Good evening and welcome back to the Artist Vibe Showcase. I'm your host, Tanisi Minikon, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you all enjoyed those amazing performances by Kelsey Obewe, who I'll be chatting with shortly. Later in the show, I'll also be interviewing Priya, who is a henna artist. Then later in the show, we will also have a Q&A session and giveaways towards the end of the show. So please stick around and you make sure you do stick around because we have like more than, this is the most amount of prizes we've had thus far. So you don't want to miss it. So now let me introduce you all to Mr. Kelsey Obewe again. Kelsey is an essayist, poet, and activist with an affinity for creative storytelling. Welcome back, Kelsey. Where is he?
Oh, hey, Tanisi.
There
Thank
you
you.
are. That was amazing. How are you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm
Thank you.
doing great. Can't complain at all. That was deep. You took me back to my what are those days when we used to snap our fingers?
Yeah.
You took me back there. That was great. So
Nice.
tell everybody a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
Yeah. So I guess to start, I was born in Silver Spring, Maryland. I currently reside in Gaithersburg, Maryland. I've been here for almost, I would say 20 years or so. I am a student. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. That's my old stomping grounds. I used to live in Gaithersburg too.
So I'm a student at MC currently. I've been on and off with college, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that later on. But outside of that, my parents, I would say I'm also Nigerian and Haitian. My parents' father is Nigerian, mother is Haitian. So I grew up with a little bit of that kind of cultural background as well. I've been writing for a very long time, and I enjoy it. Yeah.
So when was the first time you wrote your first poem?
So the very first poem was that My Heart piece that I recited for you guys in the very beginning. That was in 2012. But prior to that, I had always been writing. I've been a writer for, I want to say, since I was a little kid, since I was 10 years old or so. I've had teachers encourage me in writing, in poetry in particular. I could name off the top of my head elementary school teachers, middle school teachers, high school teachers that all encouraged me to express myself through writing. And the crazy part is that's what I'm doing today. So I have them to thank for the trajectory that I'm on now.
That is awesome. I mean, you're great at it. You can tell that it's a gift. So when you said, do you do this full time? Is this like I know you're a writer, but is that a full time? Like, do you have another, when you're not writing, what else are you doing?
That's a good question. So my hope is to do this full time, but when I'm not doing this full time, I am working at Amazon in their fulfillment center, as well as going to school. So when I'm pursuing, my degree is an English degree. And so that's kind of the hope of where I want the rest of my career to go towards, is either teaching English or being a creative writer, creative entrepreneur in this sense, or something to do with writing in general. I still haven't figured that part out yet exactly, but I think I'm on the right track right now. Yeah.
Okay, great. So what would you say writing means to you?
Yeah, so writing, that's a really good question. Writing for me now means self-expression, means creative self-expression and freedom. Prior to prior to today, I would say that writing at the time, so the two pieces that I read or recited for you guys, those two came out of a place of believing that writing was only about evangelizing and preaching the gospel and sending out a message through the church.
Okay.
Now that I have actually left the church, and I'll go into a little bit about that throughout my performance, but now that I have kind of seen myself move from that space, writing for me now means more about freedom, expression, finding yourself, understanding yourself as it relates to the world, to social issues, and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about, you switching paths from, Christianity to moving your art, I guess, towards a more worldly path. Explain that background.
Yeah, so I want to say it first started in 2014. I actually read a book called Art in the Bible by Francis Schaeffer. It was a book that a lot of my peers were reading at the time, my artist friends were reading at the time. And the book itself talked a lot about not necessarily creating art for the sake of preaching the gospel, but creating art for art's sake, creating beautiful pieces of work just because, and there was there wasn't any pressure to preach a message. So I took to that message myself, and I started creating from there. And then my other shift, the reason for my other shift, I actually have an essay that I wrote about this. It had to do with more of my identity as an individual, as a Black man, as a just as a person in general. I didn't know who I was outside of the institution of the church and outside of Christianity. And I needed to find myself. So part of me needing to find myself meant I needed to take my art, my craft, my writing outside of the place that I couldn't find myself in.
So would you consider yourself no longer a Christian, or is it just the art that you've taken out of Christianity? Or
yeah, that's a good question too, because I know a few people are probably wondering that too. I would say as of now, I am a functioning agnostic for various reasons, but I still believe in the necessity of spirituality. And that's part of the reason why I opened with those two pieces, because even though for me now at 26 years old, I may not agree with what 17-year-old Kelsey, thought and wrote about, but I still feel like that's an important piece of my history. And I also feel like spirituality and religion and whatever it might be is an important part of human history. We don't understand human history without the acknowledgement of spirituality and religious beliefs, so that's where I would find myself now.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. I mean, let's shift gears a little bit. So what type of writing does your work include? Like
yeah, so tonight I'm going to be presenting to you guys one piece of myself as a writer, and that's poetry. But outside of poetry, I do a lot of essay writing. I've started to take more I would say I take more of a liking to narrative essays. Again, I love storytelling. And so what I found was I could do storytelling through poetry, but I could also do it through writing essays. On top of that, I'm also a part of a writing collective called the Writers and Editors of Color on Medium, which is the platform that I typically write for. And right now, they are producing pieces that are in defense of the 1619 Project. If you guys are familiar with Nicole Hannah-Jones and her 1619 Project, I think she's about to put out a book pretty soon. A few of us writers have decided we're going to put together some pieces in defense of her project. We've been producing academic articles and journalistic pieces. So that's kind of the vein that I'm writing in now as well.
Okay, so people can find you on Medium. What is the link for that? I'm sure we're probably going to post it in the chat for everyone.
For sure. Yeah, so the link for my Medium page, it's Kelsey, KELSEY slash, or not, I'm sorry, dash OGBEWE dot medium.com.
There
And
it
then, yeah,
is.
I'm sure you guys will put that in the chat as
Yes,
well.
it is there. They are on it.
Yep.
And also
Perfect.
for social media, like if anybody wants to follow you on Instagram, Facebook.
Definitely, yeah. Go ahead and follow me on Instagram. It's at KOGBEWE7. Same thing for Twitter. Twitter is KOGBEWE7. And then I'm also on TikTok too. So you guys can go ahead and follow me on there. Same name, just without the 7. So it's at KOGBEWE.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Kelsey.
Of course, thank
show
you.
Kelsey some love, everyone, as he blesses us with another performance right now.
Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna take y'all back a little bit further. I'm gonna take you guys back to 2014. So for me, 2014 was a pivotal year because that was when I actually started college. I've been up and down with college for a little while, but in that context, I was still a man of faith at the time, but I had more questions than I had answers as a college student, as a freshman in college. So the first piece that I want to read to you guys is questions from the elephant in the room. See, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. A touchy subject, yet no one wants to cop a feel, but still. Every once in a while, I like to ask myself a couple of questions like, why are we here? Can religious visions and prayerful petitions really produce peace? Do we honestly believe that if we get a degree, find a job that fits our pedigree, and all the while chase the American dream, that we will be completely satisfied? Now, please understand my perspective. Those questions were not suggestive of laziness. Education is good, but is it the end all be all? Or consider this. What if we fully embrace a lifestyle of flying full speed into that Cheech and Chong cloud, only to come crashing down in that pool full of liquor just to die? And it would have really washed all our problems away? For my brothers out there, is there any other way to validate our manhood or navigate through this thing called manhood besides finding a couple of bad chicks to sleep with? I mean, don't get me wrong, you know it's a gift, but what happens when it comes time to commit to that one woman? Or is that even an indication of masculinity anymore? For my sisters out there, is there any other way to find love outside of another man's sheets? Man, what if he ain't pursuing you for keeps? And after that one night, he stands there watching as you leave, never to be seen again, and he left you brokenhearted with a seed growing in your belly. But would it profit you to pop a few pills thinking peaceful people peek through painkillers and penicillin, numb to all the pain for just a moment? But is it worth it? Have we fully grasped the meaning of freedom, or does it slip through our fingers the minute we think it means the ability to do whatever we want? Would a stomach full of hedonism only leave us hungrier? Now, I know those questions came at you like rapid fire, possibly leaving bruises, but I think I know where all these questions are leading up to. At the end of the day, are we truly satisfied with the way we're living our lives? So the next piece that I have for you guys, it's called Carbon Copies. Originally, I wrote this for an assembly an assembly program that I traveled around Montgomery County and Virginia, performing for middle schools and high schools. But the piece kind of it's interesting in the sense that it has that same questioning, but it questions whether or not you are living your authentic life. So I was inspired by Eckhart Tolle at the time. This was written in 2016. And so he says, living up to an image that you have of yourself or that other people have of you is inauthentic living. So here's Carbon Copies. Have you ever felt like you just didn't fit in? Have you ever felt so angry with yourself, like a frustrated toddler? repeatedly trying to fit a rectangular block in that circle spot. Yo, take a look at the circle of friends you run with. Do you honestly feel photoshopped, cropped to perfection, Instagram flexing? Yo, you've mastered the art of filtering. Your personality has faded into the dark shadows of a life overly saturated with lo-fi sounds and images, distorting reality with hums and whispers and pictures of you being the odd one out. Unless, of course, you settle for status quo, comply and idly sit by as your mind's rhetoric awkwardly two steps to the same drum beat as your crew. Could it be that your thoughts, speech patterns, and actions are not your own? Simply following through with what your peers tell you was cool to do, do you ever question the reflection in the mirror like, is this truly me? Now, if you feel this way, I get it. I'm not an outsider looking in, but an insider who knows how it feels to be uncomfortable in his own skin, figuratively and literally. My memory banks are filled with vivid pictures of a friend who called me out for being fake, who knew me as a cool, laid-back dude in middle school, but as a short-tempered short kid who was always ready to fight with my words and my fists as soon as I hit freshman year. I ran with a crew who egged me on to defend my manhood. See, they did, so I did too. But I felt like Pinocchio, tied down by puppeteer strings until I cut them loose. And now I use my hands to craft words that build up instead of tearing down. And now I know that was heavy. So let me lift the weight off your burden by saying this. See, I remember one time a poet by name of Propaganda quote his own mama on stage, and she said, "Be who you is, because who you ain't who you is." Or maybe you're more familiar with what Kendrick Lamar's My Dukes had told him. See, you ain't gotta lie to kick it. Man, you ain't gotta try so hard. And I remember as a young boy, my mama used to ask me, if your friends walked off a cliff, would you walk with them too? And I hated that question with every fiber of my being. And maybe you did too, but maybe she had a point. See, because sometimes the masses, they prove to be the most ignorant of classes. See, them is wise words meant to refresh you. So be you, because life don't make room for carbon copies. And now, the very last piece that I'm going to read to y'all is called Neighborhood Watch. And this I wrote at a time, it was summer of 2016. And at the time, I wasn't even taking my own advice to be me. I had things that I wanted to write about. This was the same year that Alton Sterling and Philando Castile were unfortunately shot by the police. And I wanted to say something. But the context that I was in, again, I was in the more so white evangelical space. They did not want me to write those types of things. These were not things that were easily accepted in that space, not at the time for me. And so I had a decision to make. I could either continue to live an inauthentic life, live my life for somebody else, write for somebody else, or I could express myself. So I decided to express myself. And this is the piece that came from that. Do not go gentle into that good night. The sight of light beams on high seem to tell me otherwise. What lies beyond the shadows of trees? The pitch dark sky leaves one's mind to wonder what good can come from this late night hour. Sour Skittles and iced tea in hand after long walks and short stops at a 7-Eleven never lessens the uneasiness of what feels like the very core of my being, twisting, turning, leaping, not for joy, but the gut-wrenching reaction of a fractured thoughts of a 17-year-old boy and those whose dark ebony skin lay lifeless on the surface of the street. designed on purpose, imperfect, broken image bearers. I repeat their names so as to not become disheartened. Trayvon Martin, Laquan McDonald, Michael Brown, Sandra Bland, Tamir Rice, John Crawford, Keith Scott, Eric Gardner, Terrence Crutcher, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. Say their names. A painful chain of events that should have never been. The byproduct of historical roots, a thread of strange fruit grown from the soils of fear of the brute, hanging from poplar trees. The seeds of these narratives are reminiscent of Jimmy Lee Jackson and Emmett Till. I stand so very, very still. Will I be able to walk through the threshold of my own neighborhood? Truth be told, I couldn't help but hold on to those thoughts. Although I knew that it would do no good, I stood so silently still, watching as autumn leaves find themselves on street corners. As each gust of winter wind blows cold, I fold my arms like crisscross fixtures, pictures of slain brothers and sisters on my mind, mixture of emotions. See, I've desperately given up on hope. I'm a tenant within these courts, and my presence is currency. So why do I spend this time sitting in deafening silence? And it's expensive as hell to stay here. Well, what else is out there beyond these fences? And these bright lights make me restless. And the concrete beneath my feet cements me in what feels like living life to the beat of a different drum. Wait, it's not that deep. Remember when the focus was on cartoons and cereal? Yeah, those were better days. Before them troubles cut my time in half, so no more layovers. I ain't afraid to catch a flight now, cause there's no room on my runway for them heavy-headed notions. I remember when my field of vision was boundless, when my fits were loud and you couldn't tell me to tone it down now. Pay attention, I said my presence is currency, and back then I ain't need to explain myself. With my head held high and chest out, I stayed 10 toes planted and them sun rays held me down. See, I ain't mind the heat cause I let the electric slide. Oh yeah, I remember those days.
That was powerful. Okay. Well, another great performance by Kelsey. Please show him some love, y'all, by clicking on those hearts. Thank you again. And we'll be seeing him one more time to close out the show. So next up, we have Ms. Priya. Priya is a professionally trained henna artist who has been serving the DMV area with over 10 years of experience in henna body art. Please watch her video. Priya. Hi, Priya.
Hi, Tennessee.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. So glad to have you on. So everyone, of course, you are welcome. So everyone, please feel free to type in questions for Kelsey and Priya during the show, and I'll make sure to read it at the in the Q&A section. So Priya, welcome again. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. Before introducing myself, I would like to take a moment to thank our viewers for tonight. And I would also like to appreciate Kelsey, who was amazing
Was.
to express his thoughts and opinions and his feelings to the poetic way.
Yes.
So, and thank you so much for having me tonight. And coming back to my introduction, so I belong to India, Maharashtra. I was born and brought up in Maharashtra, India, and then I came back to United States around 10 years ago, 10 to 12 years ago, and I grew up seeing the henna art as a part of my tradition in my country. But after coming to United States, I actually started doing henna for as my business, as a profession. I developed that after coming to United States.
Okay, great. Well, can you tell us exactly what, for some people that don't know or may not know, like the background about henna, like what exactly is henna?
Sure. So henna basically is a plant, and they use the leaves of the plant to make the powder. And then each henna artist has her own recipe to make the blend, though usually henna powder is mixed with essential oils like eucalyptus oil, cashew nut oil, and lemon juice and water. Those are the main ingredients. So basically henna blend is an all organic blend.
Okay. So like how long would a typical like henna, I guess it would be called tattoo, right? How long would
No,
would it be called?
no, I would like to correct you here a little bit. Here in States, people do resemble henna designs with the tattoo because it's a body art. So we do not see it as a tattoo, as it has another in our culture, we believe that henna brings us good luck and prosperity. So it's not considered as a tattoo. And it is way different than tattoo because it doesn't get into your bloodstream like the real tattoo does.
Right.
So it's a temporary thing.
Temporary.
So yeah.
Okay, and how long does that typically last?
So after the application of the paste, usually within half an hour, the paste starts to get dry, and then around it starts to flake off on its own, and then it kind of leaves a lighter orange color stain that would keep getting darker for next 48 hours after the application, and that stain would remain for like around a week on the person's skin based on the body chemistry and also the aftercare.
Okay, that was actually one of my questions before, like to ask you the difference, between doing henna back home in India compared to here. From your answer before, it pretty much seems like it's more on the surface here, and it has a much more deeper meaning back in India. So
yes,
that's
back in India, it's a part of our culture. We believe, as I said, we believe that henna plant has some positive spirits attached to it. So that's the reason why we mainly get henna application done during the weddings and festivities. So yeah, and it also believed to chase away the evil eye and bring you good luck and prosperity. So there are other meanings, and there is also a scientific reason why we get henna done because henna has a medicinal value. That it's a cooling agent. It's a naturally it's organically cooling agent that is penetrating to the superficial layers of your skin, and it's actually helping relax your nerves and calm you down. So you can say maybe it's like a small spa treatment. And it's also meditative, the person who gets it done for them also, and also for the person who is actually doing it, because the kind of focus and attention you put while doing it itself, it's a different experience that one has to understand by either getting it done or actually doing it for somebody.
Okay, that's amazing. So please tell us a little bit about your business. You said you started a business.
Yeah,
What's the name of your company and how long have you been in business?
Yeah, so my company name is Charming Henna, and I'm located in Rockville, Maryland.
Okay.
Though I do travel DC, Virginia, Delaware, and Pennsylvania for the events, and I do all sort of events,
Mm,
whether it's a wedding or it's a corporate party or a photo shoot. I
okay.
mean, you name the event, and you can have henna activity there, like maybe as a fun element of the party,
Mhm,
or maybe if you want to, like, highlight certain things in the photo shoots, they, like, a pregnant belly they want to highlight, or during the weddings as well, like, the brides, even the American brides,
okay.
with their white gowns, the brown henna stain goes really well.
Mhm.
So I mean, for them, it's one of the beauty aspects that they would like to enjoy during the weddings.
Okay, that's great. So you've been in business for how long?
Around 10 years.
Around 10 years. Do
Yeah.
you offer any, I know you offer services at different events. Do you offer any online services?
Yes, I offer online classes from
Okay.
basic to advanced level. So in
Okay.
the basic classes, the like somebody who doesn't know where to start from,
Mhm.
and who has only seen henna art but do not know the actual techniques, and, like, the way how to apply it. And so for them, the basic class is really great, because there I teach everything from scratch, like, how
Oh,
to draw a slanting line, how to draw a dot. Like, just we teach a kid how to write
mhm.
letters and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's literally from the scratch. Yeah, they get to learn a lot in the basic. And as they advance further, if someone wants to keep pursuing the same thing and want to turn it into the profession, then the advanced level courses begins from, like, after 8 hours or 12 hours of practices online. So slowly it gets intricate towards the intricate designs and the motifs that are mainly used in the the intricate designs for the brides, and even for the henna crowns.
Mhm.
So there are different techniques as well, like which body part you apply the design, whether it is in the hand or the head or the feet. So that advancement goes further into the classes.
Okay. How long are the classes typically? Or does it just depend on what
It
people?
depends. The basic class is for 2 hours, where very basic things I would like to teach them, and I also like to see their interest, because although you like to see how to apply, and, like, it's mesmerizing when somebody is doing henna for you, and people get intimidated saying that, oh, I want to learn this. But
Mhm.
then there's a physical challenge, during the henna application, you have to focus your mind and concentrate onto that thing, and sit for hours to practice in certain position. So that could be sometime, like, overwhelming for people. So
Mhm.
I like to see their interest, and how persistent they can, like, be into learning into that art. So I would suggest to start from the basic 2 hours class, and then
Mhm.
if they feel that that's their thing, then they can, yeah, proceed further. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So do you have any work that you want to share with us tonight, or even
Sure.
walk us through a process of doing?
Of course, sure. So here I have my own designs that I have done on the paper. So this is also a part of my practice. So we either do practice on the papers, or um, there is these kind of stencils, or what you can say, acrylic hand. You see, it's a
Mhm.
hand-shaped acrylic thing.
Right.
So here we can practice different kind of designs, because it's washable. So you just wash it
That's
off and,
great.
like, keep on practicing.
That's
Although practicing on real hand is always better,
mhm.
because the angles and hold the way you hold the
Right.
tube, that's a little different here. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay. Do you have, are you able to walk us through the
Sure. First of all,
small
I would like
demonstration?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I would like to show how the real henna powder looks like.
Okay.
So this is the real henna powder. This is the organic henna powder. It looks like lighter green color.
Mhm.
And many times people ask me this question, that how to figure out that this is the real stuff. So when you smell the powder, if it is pleasant, then it's definitely organic. If it is
Okay.
chemical, then it smells like really real bad.
Mm,
So
okay.
you cannot stand with that smell. So that's the difference. And the color of the fresh henna powder is most of the time it's lighter green. If it
Okay.
is pale yellow, then that means it's been kept on shelf for like longer time, and it may not give you the desired results. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. All right.
So do you want me to go ahead and show how the actual application process goes?
Yes, that
Sure.
would be great. Like the tools you use and
Sure.
all of that.
So this is the henna tube.
Okay.
Back home we call it cone, mehendi cone. Mehendi is the organic, the generic word that we use back home.
Mhm.
But here it's called henna tubes. So these tubes are made out of, as you see, this is just a gift wrap paper kind of a thing. So we roll the tubes, the empty tubes, and then we fill in the paste, and the tubes get sealed with the sellotapes.
Okay.
So it's really a simple way to prepare this tool. It's really not that difficult. You
Mhm.
can once you practice, it's one can easily make it.
All right.
So here I'm going to show a simple design on this acrylic hand over here.
Beautiful. Oh, the questions are coming in. Let's see. Wow.
So if you see here, with the same tool, I'm able to draw thin and thick lines.
Right.
So yeah, so the reason behind that is the pressure that I'm applying on the tube.
That takes lots of concentration.
Yes, it does.
That's beautiful though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually a simple design takes around 4 to 5 minutes to finish off. Like when I say simple design, it's from wrist to the fingertip.
Okay.
Or sometimes it's a mandala. Mandala is nothing but a circular design. But mandala also represents the circle of life. So yeah, so that's something fall into the traditional pattern or traditional design. But nowadays people can draw even the portraits, like if you give your picture, they can literally draw your portrait on your palm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so this art has really been advanced a lot in last, I would say, maybe 10 years. And there are various artists who do amazing job in the United States, back in India, in many parts of the world. Henna art has really reached to next level.
Wow, you did that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
That is very beautiful.
Although this is the stencil that I'm using, it's really different when you do it on the real hand.
Okay.
So as this is a flat surface that I'm doing it on, but when it comes to the hand, you have to put your hand in certain angles.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That is awesome. That is beautiful. I mean, while you're doing that, I'm going to ask you so to tell people where to find you. What's your website? How can we sign up for these classes? And also if you're on social media, I'm sure they're going to put that in the chat as well.
Of course. So my website is www.charminghenna.com. It's
Charminghenna.
CharmingHenna.
Mm-hmm.
And people can also find me on Instagram, which has the same name, @CharmingHenna.
Okay. Awesome.
And you can always Google and just
Right.
say, yeah, Charming Henna.
Yep, there it is right there in the chat. Oh my goodness, that is beautiful. You did that in like 2 minutes. Wow.
Yeah, this is like real easy, Tennessee. Let me tell you,
Wow.
this is a real simple thing. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
like one who is interested in learning it, they can definitely start with this. And yeah, I mean, especially if you're a student and you would like to earn some pocket money, working on weekends, and this is really the best thing to do.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you so much for that demonstration.
Sure.
That was awesome. Thank you. So I'm gonna close out the interview with a little fun game called Rapid Fire. And just gonna ask you a few quick questions and just to learn a little bit more about you.
Sure.
So first question is, what is something you could eat for 1 week straight every day?
Khichdi. That's my favorite. It's my staple. It's called khichdi. It's a mix of rice and dal.
Yes, I have heard of it.
Yeah, it's a lentil and rice cooked together with some spices.
Yes, actually, my mom likes that. That's interesting. What is your favorite pastime?
I sketch. I sketch a lot.
I like that.
Yeah, I sketch a lot. Yeah. I mean, I'm not talking about the henna designs, but in general, I sketch. I try to sketch faces. I try to sketch like, you know, many other things. Whatever I see and I feel, oh my God, this looks different. This looks beautiful. I just save that and try to copy that into sketch. Yeah.
I love that. Well, what is your favorite travel destination?
Currently, if you would ask me, I'll say India. India. I haven't really explored India much.
Okay.
Let me tell you, yeah, there is a lot to explore in India. And yeah, I mean, more than Western world, like, you know, the east side of the world it attracts me most.
Nice. Okay. And almost there, almost done. What is your favorite phrase or favorite
My favorite phrase?
Yes.
Sorry,
phrase or saying. Like, is there a favorite quote or something that you may say?
Yes, I do. It's imagine, believe, and achieve.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, can I steal that?
Yeah.
I love it.
Steal that from me and believe on it and, like, you know, work accordingly.
Yes, I really like that.
That worked for me.
Yes, I love it. So the last one is, who is your favorite person?
My son.
Your son? Oh, how old is your son?
He's 9.
Oh, love that. Oh, I have a 10-year-old son. So love that.
He was another reason why I got into this profession, because when he was a baby, I didn't wanted to keep him in a daycare and have a full-time job. So that was the first reason why I came up with certain idea that I should do something which would keep me productive, yet it won't engage me the entire day. And my very good friend, whose name is Poonam, she introduced me the monetary benefits, or I can say the professional aspect of the henna art in this United States. So I'm really thankful for both of them for having making me start this journey.
That's amazing what children will make you do. Make you start. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Priya. Hang on. We're gonna get back to you in a few minutes, but right now it is time for the Q&A session. Today's Q&A session is brought to you by Complete Chiropractic and Rehabilitation. Complete Chiropractic, can't speak tonight, and Rehabilitation is located in Kensington, Maryland. They are dedicated to the community by providing ethical and patient-centered care using the knowledge and expertise of staff through diagnosis, treatment, and education to help patients achieve their wellness goals. Check out their video. So now I'm going to turn it over to the audience. Please raise your hand if you would like to be on camera, or leave a question in the chat, and I'll go ahead and read them. I see there were quite a few already for Priya and Kelsey. Let's see. All right, hold on. Let me go up a little bit. So looks like, okay, the first question is from James Mensah. Is henna art often used for weddings only? Oh, you're on mute, Priya. It's okay.
Yeah, I got the question.
Mhm.
So no, henna art is not often only used for weddings only. I would rather keep it this way. If you are asking about back home, we would do it during the baby showers and the other festivals. And we have like many festivals in a year. So yeah, like prominently back home, we would do it on these kind of occasions. But here in States, they would do it for everything, whether it is a 1-year-old's birthday party, whether it's a corporate event, whether it's a promotional event, anything.
Okay. So there's another question for you from Sanita DeBose. I hope I'm saying that right. It says, your work seems so complicated and beautiful. How does it feel to know it will not last a long time?
That's rather the beauty of the henna is, you see, because like a tempered, like permanent tattoo, it's not going to last on your skin forever. So you can always have options to try out new designs. And most importantly, it's all organic. As I said, it doesn't get into your bloodstream. And that's what I believe people across the world, henna is getting more popular because it suits all ages, it suits all skin types, no allergic reaction ever if you are using all organic ingredients. Okay. So although this is a fact, you feel bad. I do feel bad when it starts to fade, but then, hey, I mean, I can get it again.
That is true.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like there's one more question in here from the Artist Vibe crew. For Kelsey, have any of your poems been made into songs?
That's actually a really good question. Not necessarily. So I'll say this. I used to be, or well, I would still consider myself a rapper. And so my introduction to poetry came through rapping. So I've done a few rap songs, but one of the last pieces that I'm gonna perform for you guys, I'm trying to figure out some music to put behind it. Trying to figure out how I can incorporate that into a song. But I would love to at least transfer one of these pieces into a song, or at the end of as a closer for a song. But yeah, that was a really good question.
Yeah, that would be amazing. So it looks like, are there any other questions before we move on to giveaways? Going once, going twice. Okay. Looks like that's it. Okay, so now it's giveaway time. I'm gonna see who has been paying attention to your interviews. I'll be asking 4 questions. 2 questions about each of our guests. Whoever answers the questions correctly first in the chat wins a prize by our sponsor, Complete Chiropractic and Rehabilitation. Also, the 5th person, actually, I'll say the first person, is the first person that signed on tonight. So you also get a prize. And I see here on my list, the first person to sign on, it just said Togba, T-O-G-B-A. Who might that be? If you're still online, you won a t-shirt.
What was the name again? What?
It just said Togba, T-O, there it is. I see it on the screen, T-O-G-B-A.
It's me, Tita.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
If someone can put the t-shirt, Complete Chiropractic and Rehabilitation t-shirt on the screen so that Tina can see what she won. There it is. Congratulations. It pays to be first. It pays to be early, right? So please make sure you send your name and address to info@fasmarketplace.com.
FS me, do it for me.
Make sure you send that and you will receive your gift.
All right, thanks.
You're very welcome. Thanks to our sponsors. So the first question is, how long has Priya been in business at Charming Henna? Let's see, who's gonna get that one? Oh, got it right. Tahira Scheider. Did I say that right?
Yes, you said it correct.
Yes, congrats, Tahira. So you are the winner. Let's see, what can we give you? I think that's a band. Chiropractic Made Me Complete. Is that a band? Yes, it is a band, like a workout band. Let's see, next question. What year did Kelsey write his first poem? What year did Kelsey write his first poem? Can anyone remember? Yes. Cheryl Togba.
Yes.
Yes. Congrats, Cheryl. I love when people are excited. I love that. So you just won a tote and looks like a water bottle. Woohoo! Yay. Congrats. Please send your information as well to info@fasmarketplace.com to receive your gift. Let's see, one more question. And that goes to, that prize is, I believe, is it the BioFreeze? But there's 2 things that goes with that. So where does Kelsey currently live? Where does Kelsey currently live? I try to make it easy for you guys.
Can I answer and give it to somebody else?
Say that again?
Can I answer it and give it to somebody else?
Oh, Cheryl again? I know you can't win everything, Cheryl. You know what? Let me ask another question. If nobody gets this one, then I'll give it to you.
Okay.
You know, but that yes. Let's see. So actually, no, I missed one. The next one was supposed to be for Priya, but since I already started, where are Kelsey's parents from? That's a little harder, but where are Kelsey's parents from? Tahira and Cheryl, you guys are really paying attention. Okay, are they allowed to get 2 gifts? I'm gonna give it to Karen Tugba. Did she win already? No.
Well, thank you.
I
can actually tell you exactly which parent is from Nigeria and which one is from Haiti.
Oh, well, yes, you go right ahead. Which one?
That's right. His daddy is from Nigeria and his mom is from Haiti.
How did you guess? By the last name, right?
No, because I heard him say it.
Okay, see? You were really paying attention. Okay, congrats, Karen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And the last question is, how long ago did Priya leave India? Or how long has she been here in the States? Is that right, Priya?
It's been 12 years. They're close, but
Oh, no, don't say that.
yeah.
Oh, no, I'm going to have to pick
It
a
did
different
took
one.
me 2 years to enjoy.
Someone said, well,
life.
oh, see, you two are not allowed to answer anymore. You two. Oh, my goodness. Karen again. Oh, my gosh. I'm going to have to come up with another question for someone else. Let me see. What can I come up with real quick for the last gift? This last gift, what? Who is Priya's favorite person? Sanita. Sanita. She said her son. Thank you. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Someone else. Congrats, Anita. Because you guys were going to take all the prizes from everyone. Oh, that was awesome. You guys, thank you so much for answering those questions. Again, please send your name and address to info@facmarketplace.com and we will make sure you received your gift. Priya, thank you again so much for being here tonight. Please don't forget to follow her on her social media platforms, go to her website, sign up for those classes, online classes, and make sure you support. Okay, thank you so much, Priya.
Thank you.
That
Have a
was
good
awesome.
night.
You
Thank
too. You too. So thank you all again so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here with us tonight. It is truly appreciated. Make sure you register online at facemarketplace.com for the next show, which will be Friday, October 29th, same time, same place, where I'll be interviewing Martina Sestakova, a textile artist, and performances by comedian Leon Scott. You do not want to miss it. Also, please help us out by filling out the survey right after the show. Now we're going to close the show out with a final performance, once again by the incredibly talented Kelsey Obewe. Until next time, stay safe, stay positive, and be blessed. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you guys for coming out tonight. Thank you for enjoying my pieces. Thank you for sitting through them. These last two pieces, before I even get into that, one of the other things I want to mention is that video that you guys saw at the very end of my last performance, that was directed, shot by Raphael Dunca. I just want to give him a shout out. Thank you so much for putting out that piece. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm going to they already got it in the chat. Perfect. I'll link at the very end of my performance. I'll go ahead and put his Instagram and stuff like that out on the chat. But these last two pieces are where I find myself now. The next piece that I want to read to you guys is called Visions. This one is actually from a chapbook that I'm working on currently. I want to be able to put my pieces out and publish them in written form so that people can hold them, read them, understand, where I'm going with my narrative and so on and so forth. So this one is actually from an anthology of love poems that I started playing around with, because as I'm going to figure out who I am, I'm also going through these different relationships, and this is part of, again, this creative freedom that I was talking about, this ability to express myself and find myself through writing. So Visions is the next piece that I want to go ahead and perform for you. These vivid visions of images find themselves firmly fixed in his subconscious. Constant, sweet memories that mimic the movement of her lips, uttering random pleasantries and witty jests arrest the attention of his mind's eye. While becoming more and more aware of this inception, this dream within a dream, it narrows his focus. He notices her petitions carried like precious cargo, delivered directly to the throne room of gods, yet equally flawed, spitting sharp sarcasm, cutting through the toughest of skin. But when he needed to hear symphonic sound bites of healing, encouragement, wisdom, she always spoke those things with ease. See, this silent, slow motion moment finds a way to say more than her warm honey dialect. And yet, there are secret feelings amassed over time, unrest. I apologize. It's been a while since I've performed this piece. So a sign that the roots of his trust issues really suffer from neglect, a thought that brings deep regret, wrecked as the landscape of this nighttime head trip sharply shifts elsewhere. It's a terrain stained with stranger things. This dark, shadowy atmosphere wafts toxic air and it's an upside down world marked by swirls of sickness, rotten eggs, and toxic ash wafts in this suffocating air, unaware of his surroundings until the woman he calls best friend slowly disappears without a trace. Face and essence completely taken over by this smog-filled scene. And yet he knows that he has to get out of here because this ain't a sweet dream no more. It's a nightmare. And the callousness don't fight fair. See, he says, I ain't never gonna heal. He says, I'm gonna protect myself. He says, and every seed planted sprouts a forest of bone-dry trees until he sees soft white pink cherry blossoms pile up on ground, found no other option but to stretch his hand low as if to pluck each bud. And yet he stops shortly as he remembers her smile. Profound rays of light pierce through thick gray skies on this black boy's skin like springtime warmth. See, he hears a voice from the distance echo, you need to look past your past and this twilight zone like monochrome landscape. Take this bike, press hard against its rusted metal and pedal through these hollow woodlands. So that was Visions. And now the piece that I recently wrote, playing on the idea of memory, playing on the idea of dreams, playing on the idea of finding yourself, escaping from whatever dark place that you might be in. For me, that was going back to this memory of me being in Nigeria for the first time in 2014 and understanding that at the end of the day, connecting to family is the most important thing to me now. Now, all of my other pieces will probably pay homage to my family, to Haiti, to Nigeria, to even just growing up in America as well. But this piece is called The Voices of My People. It's a poetic call to return home. Osarumwe Seogbewe, can you hear me? Osarumwe Seogbewe, are you listening? Osarumwe Seogbewe, do you remember what home felt like? The way them rising red sun rays settle deep beneath your earth-toned skin when brief gusts of distant dialects rushed your inner ear. Could you recall that curious consciousness? I mean, I know your default is to tuck these memories away in covered crates laced with amnesia, but please do not forget the sight of palm wine spirits or them crimson lights that hung above the overpass as you pass through Lagos. Slow down, stay close, come here, and unlatch the locks from these box tributes. Let loose the echoes of father's free knowledge of family voyages from Port Harcourt to Benin. Don't you see those streams of consciousness take shape of cousin Kensington's baritone voice? Hey, quick, Snatch them from the ether, bring each wave near to hear him speak of sacred stories of Oba Palace, Niger boy. I pray you practice persistent presence in these ancestral relics, for they are the precious cargo your blood carries through your veins. Train the tip of your tongue to twist and turn into the name Grandma blessed you with the day she learned of your birth. Osarumwense, may you never let America detach your blackness from your people. You know, her feeble and vicious lies will try to split you from the diaspora's wisdom. Listen, in a drunken rage, she'll wage bitter Twitter wars against the Pan-African state of mind. But this time, pay attention. Peep the lesson. Stand firm in the face of her aggression when the resounding sound of your voice annoys her colonial hangover. Remember that you stand on the shoulders of giants, of Achebe, of Shoyenka, of Omawale, of Nkrumah, of Dessalines, and lean into the words of Du Bois and Toure and Black poets whose protests took personhood and wrapped it up in bravado and the not so subtle storytelling that flowed from the depths of Grandma's heart. Now, this the part where you remember the time she mastered the art of switching back and forth between Edo and Pidgin, wishing you could absorb every sound, every syllable, every scene she colored with the most expressive of hues. Use these memories as an abundant source of strength as you hold and view the green pastures that captured your eyes the first time you came home. Osarumwense Bewe, can you hear me? Osarumwense Bewe, are you listening? Osarumwense Bewe, rest your mind. It's time to come back home. Thank you guys. I appreciate you for coming out tonight. Please, again, follow me on all of my socials. I'm going to go ahead and put Rafael Dunca's social as well, show him some love. He created that beautiful video for me. Me and him actually worked on that project together. And I hope that out of all of the poems that I've recited to you guys tonight, one of them either resonated with you guys or some of the words hit home for you. And at the end of the day, this was just an introduction to who I am as a person. I want to create art that's more conversational now, as opposed to preaching at people, because I believe that conversations is what brings people into ideas, stories, so on and so forth. So again, I appreciate everybody for coming out tonight. Thank you.
The life of the artist is lived for the people. They want to give them something they can enjoy. The life of an artist.
Let me see. Exceptions got you decapitated. That's heads off in another space, a dream state. Forget the real and lead the pain. With pleasure seekers roll up swishers, puff it past. And hot tamika's in your bedroom, Teddy Pendergrass. Your vibe on, but never lead a light on. Her voodoo's got you trapped and tantalizing you to crash to be the cat that goes to liquor, but never fix you. I know the price to find your joy and lots of noise forsake your soul, your dreams to the nightmares, and you're right here all alone. And the darkness is foggy. How could you be so nonchalant? Is you okay with a life wasted on faith and a false perception that you need a fantasy to keep on living on?
Hey. Wow. Okay.